In my last video, I made this basic simple stove to be used with sterno and maybe an alcohol burner out of a 28-ounce soup can. Just basically emptied it, cleaned it, drilled some holes in it, and painted it. And it works pretty well. So I used a lot of sterno in that video, so I have some empty sterno cans. I'm going to refill this sterno can with not exactly a sterno fuel, but a fuel that's similar to sterno. So in a later video, I'm going to duplicate the sterno gel fuel, but today I'm just making a fuel that's more like a paste, not exactly a gel, that will burn very similar to how a sterno can will burn. So the two basic ingredients I'm going to use to make a fuel is diatomaceous earth, which you could get at Lowe's, Home Depot, and garden stores, and denatured alcohol, which you could buy at the same stores. When I bought this can, it was about $7.40 for the fuel, and it was about the same price for this entire bag of diatomaceous earth. I live in an area that is prone to getting hurricanes. Most years that I've lived here, we've had some type of tropical system or hurricane, and several of those have taken out power, in some cases for some folks around me, not necessarily me, but for a couple of weeks. And when that type of storm hits this area, everything that is convenient for cooking and surviving flies off the shelf at a pretty fast rate. So these alternatives that folks don't necessarily go to right away, like sterno and these alternative fuels for cooking, usually are still found on the shelf. So this blue line, this top blue line, is 3/4 of a cup, or 6 ounces of denatured alcohol, and I'm going to put a decent amount of this diatomaceous earth into this can, and then slowly add alcohol and more diatomaceous earth until I get it pretty close to the top. And then I'm going to try to boil water using the tin can stove and this denatured alcohol fuel. So I've got it to the consistency of about something like a pancake batter, maybe a little thicker than pancake batter. Not yet peanut butter thickness. So I've got 3/4 of a cup, or 6 ounces, of denatured alcohol, and about 1.5 cups or so of diatomaceous earth in this sterno can. I'm going to put this lid on here that you would get to allow storage of open food cans or pet food cans, and just let everything evaporate off for a few minutes before I light it. I dripped a little bit of alcohol, spilled some down on the side. It's going to evaporate really fast, so I'm just going to wait a minute and then light it. Diatomaceous earth, which, you know, it thickens the alcohol up, it slows down the evaporation process, it slows down the burn a little bit, and keeps the alcohol from sloshing around when you lightly bump it. That's why I'm mixing it up with the diatomaceous earth. In a later video, I'm going to actually make a very similar gel fuel. So we'll get this thing lit. I'll go ahead and add the 1 cup of water. Get a light. Get the stove on. And I can visibly see that there's a lot more flame than the sterno, even the sterno can that I opened up in the previous video. And I can feel a lot more heat coming off of this. So maybe we'll get a faster boil time. So we have a pretty good boil. It started boiling in about 3.5 minutes. I couldn't get the camera turned back on. It took me a minute to get the camera turned back on, but yeah. So around the 3.5 minute mark, we started to break a boil. Our temperature in the water is right at 212 degrees. That was way faster than sterno. Just give you an idea, this diatomaceous earth, after you've used it, you could, I've only burned a little bit of the alcohol out of it, but if you burn off all the alcohol on it, it'll become dry, almost brick-like, and you just break it back up and continue to use it. And that's what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to add more alcohol to the diatomaceous earth and mix it back up and go for 2 cups of water to a boil. So I don't know how much I burned off. That'd be kind of cool to figure out. Alright, so let's see how long it takes to boil 2 cups of water using this method. So that took 9 minutes to get 2 cups of water to a boil. It's a light boil, not as aggressive as a boil as we had earlier with the 1 cup of water. But just around the 9 minute mark, we started to get a boil, a very light boil. So you could do a lot with 2 cups of water, 2 cups of boiling water. I'm going to let this flame go and see how much longer this flame in this can lasts. That is something I haven't tried to do yet. So just past the 30-minute mark, and I still have flame, and I still have heat, and I still have water hovering at 203, 204 degrees. That's on 8 ounces, 6 to 8 ounces of denatured alcohol. I'm actually pretty impressed with that. I didn't think it'd last that long. On my next video, I'm going to be making a small stove out of tin cans known as a rocket stove or a biomass stove, and then I'll try the same thing. I'll boil water using sticks and twigs and straw and things like that, and see how long it takes for me to get water boiling out of a stove that's burning basically wood. Thanks for watching. Bye.